Comedian and commentator Ben Gleib is one of the many candidates running for the Democratic nomination for president. Unlike those other candidates who spent the weekend campaigning in Iowa and other key states, Ben was in Washington protesting against corruption, and he got arrested because he doesn't like corruption and Washington does. We'll get details on that as Ben Gleib joins me here in studio. Why were you arrested?
I was arrested because I flew to D.C. to join the Democracy 911 protest with Represent Us, and a man named Ronaldo Pearson had walked 730 miles from Atlanta to D.C. to protest the corruption in our government, to get it out, to secure our vote, protect our right to vote. The millions are being purged from the rolls, the corrupt influence of lobbyist money.
Why were you arrested?
And so I joined him for the last mile, and we walked up to the Capitol steps, right up to the police, and we sat down right there, and they said, if you don't leave these steps, don't have a permit to protest here, you must leave. And we had decided in an act of civil disobedience to refuse to leave.
When they we often see these acts of civil disobedience. Where do they take you, and what happens after they take you?
So normally they would have processed us down at the station, but because there were so many of us and because we warned them ahead of time we were going to do that, they were very good to work with, the Capitol Police, and they just took us around the side behind their police vans. They'd set up a makeshift station right there, and they processed us there, filled out forms. Then we had to go and pay a fine down at the station, and once we did that, we were able to be cleared to leave town.
What was it like to be arrested?
It was intense. It was a very sobering moment to be approaching the Capitol building that I've seen many times, that we all see as the beacon of what our country stands for. It's the hub of our democracy that's supposed to function well, and that doesn't. It is so broken. And to be walking up, looking at this beautiful rotunda and knowing that I was about to technically break the law, to stand up for our rights and to stand up for finally the change we so urgently need, I felt proud. It was nerve-wracking a bit and intense, but I just felt proud that we can still stand up to power in this country and only have to pay a fine and don't get thrown into a gulag somewhere.
All right, you know, Ben, I hate to break this to you, you will not be the Democratic nominee for president.
What? Okay, nobody texted me this. You should have texted me later.
But you're ready because you got the flag in the lapel.
Yes, sir.
Why are you running?
Well, I originally entered this race almost 5 months ago because I believe that there was, and I think that there still is, a small chance of getting the nomination if more outlets are open-minded like yourself and have me on, because in most circles, Democrats will admit that we believe the current candidates will not beat Trump. So to me, it is...
You do believe that?
I think that there's a far more than 50% chance that we will lose again. I don't think you can beat Donald Trump with career politicians. We tried it in 2016 and we failed miserably. And she was a very qualified candidate, Hillary. And so I'm running because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't offer the American people another choice. I'm a comedian. Donald Trump is not a politician. Beating him with politicians is not going to work. He's the biggest heckler in political history. And the way you take down a heckler is with a comedian. And so I wanted to offer that choice and a different voice in this election in case I'm right. And the media, generally speaking, with you as an exception and a handful of others, have just been shutting us out. The DNC doesn't return our calls.
So you obviously, how can you get it?
So at this, unless we have a moment, we basically are in our last window right now, and we have maybe the next few weeks left to try to qualify for the October or November debates. And if we do, they're going to be expanding the field a little bit for October. We have a chance to get the message wide to many, many millions watching the debate, and then we have a fair chance to at least influence the conversation and maybe move up in the polls. If we don't, you're right, our days are numbered. So we need people to go to Gleib2020.com and donate $1 or $5 or $10 or $50 so that we can reach more of the country, take out more ads, and give a different voice, only because the future of the country and planet depends on it. So if we don't, and we just push these career politicians, and we lose...
Why do you call yourself a compassionate capitalist?
Because America is a capitalist system, and I embrace that. I don't like the Democratic Party's shift towards embracing the label of socialism. I think it's a false dichotomy that we say we're only capitalist and not socialist. We've always been both. We have elements of both. Trump is both. And His farm subsidies are both. His tariffs are socialist.
Police department.
The police department, fire department, roads, everything, public schools, all of it. And so we are both, but I want to always keep the moniker of capitalism because that's what the American spirit is tied to. The ability to be upwardly mobile.
One of the issues greatly being discussed, maybe a key issue in the campaign, is guns.
Yes, sir.
Where do you stand on the Second Amendment?
I believe firmly in our right to bear arms. I always state that first because I want gun owners to know I would never take your guns. I think we need a solution and a proposal that we can actually pass. So gun owners have to know that we will not take your guns. That said, while I think guns are cool, I think kids are cooler. And that should be our standard. If kids are fearing being shot at school and the hottest back-to-school item is a bulletproof backpack, we are failing our moral leadership in our own nation. We're failing our children. We're failing the future. We need common sense, comprehensive gun reform where we can meet in the middle. Background checks that 90% agree on that are comprehensive, even for private sales. Of course, you can't just give guns to your friends. We need a waiting period so we can make sure that you're not a criminal or a crazy person. We need red flag laws so if you're threatening to kill people, we can take your guns away at least temporarily. I met a woman on the campaign trail who was a school teacher who one of her colleagues had to suffer the horrible tragedy of seeing her children murdered by her ex-husband, who she went to a court 2 days earlier to get the guns removed, and they said no. We need laws to protect our citizens at least during their most trying times. So we may not win this nomination, but we've certainly been trying in earnest to go around the country and listen to Americans and meet with people of all walks of life, people suffering from opioid addiction, people suffering from domestic and sexual abuse. And the one thing we keep hearing over and over again is how refreshing, Ben, our meeting with you. You actually listened far more than you talked. And these politicians keep going in and just spouting off what they already know and not listening. And how are you going to create change? And how are you going to truly represent people if you think you know all the answers and you don't go in with an open ear?
Agenda. I don't have.
They have an agenda.
I never had an agenda.
Yeah, you don't either. And so much of the media does. I've had media tell me that they won't have me on because I'm off brand for them. Media shouldn't have a brand. You're supposed to cover what happens. And so that's what we need. I think we need people from the outside. If Jon Stewart or Colbert ran, I would drop out. And they would certainly have a better chance to win, but they're not. And so I just think we need to consider seriously another choice in case I'm right. If the George W. Bush model of somebody who isn't the world's biggest policy expert, but can be backed up by the policy wonk of Dick Cheney, we can try that model for the good guys and have me as the figurehead thought leader of the country, and maybe an Elizabeth Warren or someone like that as my vice president who has all the plans in the world, but we need to win. There's no point in the debates if we lose again.
Ben, what would happen to you if you lost?
I will not concede, Larry. I will go all the way to the White House.
All the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no way I'm giving this up. No, if I lose, and it's likely that that will happen, I will do all I can to ensure the Democratic nominee wins. I'll offer my services to help. I will rally the base of amazing support in every state in this union that has supported my campaign to make sure we get the Democratic nominee elected. I will help them poke holes in Trump. I will help them use some of a comedian's tactics to take down the biggest heckler in history.
Give me an example of that.
Well, the fact that he doesn't respond to policy arguments, he responds to insults, and he throws them. So you give them back. You say, listen, crybaby Donnie, treasonous Trump, you're going down. Do you understand? You call him tiny brain Trump. Oh, he'll go nuts. It'll get under his skin. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is largely accredited with what made him run, being made fun of mercilessly.
I was there.
You were there. You saw him getting redder than he already is, which is hard to do, Larry. He's a very red man. So you just hit him where it hurts. You call him little hands. You call him treasonous. You call him crybaby. You tell him that he is somebody who is Putin's side chick. You hit him where it hurts. You show his disloyalty by using insults.
Do you think he was hurt by the fact that he was not mentioned in the Emmys?
Oh, I'm sure he's crying.
Because he loves to be mentioned.
Yeah,
Not being,
of course.
You said in your campaign kickoff announcement that one thing you'll do as president is regulate the big social media networks. What are you talking about?
Well, they have become so ubiquitous in our lives that they control our access to information, our access to our networks, to our friends, and they've instituted these algorithms that they don't share with us how they calculate them. They're charging us to reach our own friends. I have people following me on social media, and they're only serving me up to 2 to 5% of my own followers and my own friends. If you're going to be a ubiquitous, essentially becoming a public utility, you must be regulated as such so that we know that you're giving us fair and unfettered access. It's also why net neutrality is so important. We must restore protections to have a free and open internet, not a tiered system. We evolved a hive mind as a humanity with the internet, where we can communicate at rapid speeds, exponentially across the globe. That shouldn't also become a class system.
Personally, you had a benign tumor?
I did.
What part of the body?
In my parotid gland, my saliva gland, and it's the kind of tumor that within 10 years, if left unchecked, often becomes a very aggressive fatal cancer. So I had to tackle it, and it showed me up close what some of the problems with our healthcare system are, and it shows you that we need to be able to have choice in this country. That's why I'm not an advocate for Medicare for all. I'm an advocate for expanding Medicare to the millions who do not have coverage, but not taking away people's private insurance, because you need in America to be able to seek out better care if you don't like the offer you have.
Does Medicare for all take private insurance away?
Bernie Sanders' version of it does. It outlaws private insurance except for elective surgeries. So unless you want a nose job, Larry, and I think your nose looks great, it would outlaw it, and that is not what America is. But we have to solve this system. You know, my girlfriend and I were recently on the campaign trail. She joined me for some of these trips, and she had, forgive the information, but a urinary tract infection that was a very bad one and very painful. We had to be sitting in the parking lot outside of the emergency room because we were out of state, out of network, wondering if we could afford to go in to address her pain because we knew we'd be slapped with a multi-$1,000 bill. And if they gave us pills, that would be an extra $800 for 2 Tylenol. That's a broken system. It has to be fixed. But eliminating private insurance is not the answer. We do have to get rid of employer-based insurance because there are too many people in this country that are afraid to leave their jobs because they're going to lose their health care, and they're stuck in crappy jobs.
Best of luck to you, Ben.
Thank you so much for giving us a voice.
You're the kind of American we need, stepping forward when others forget or are afraid of the heat.
Thank you, sir. I'm definitely not afraid, and we're trying to just speak truth to power and make some change in our country.